infinity, so you experience everything at the same time and nothing. And there's like just no way to inherently counter that without just being like, and this is God fighting you. Like, so as long as it's a 1v1, it's gonna be difficult to find anyone to beat Gojo. But
I was gonna say, so this might be a little bit of a cheat code on GTA 5, right? But Saitama from One Punch will absolutely be able to, fight Gojo in my opinion. Are you guys familiar with One Punch Man?
I'm familiar with One Punch Man. But
I haven't watched it. I know that he's basically like unkillable or something like that, right?
The idea of One Punch Man and Saitama, the main character, is he's supposed to be just your shonen hero. He's got plot armor and an insta kill on everyone, and that's his character. So
extremely funny. All that is about, like, exactly what he said. It's literally the name One Punch Man. Like, he's sad and depressed because throughout, I guess, a couple of years, he trained hard to be able to fight all these monsters and have actual fights, and now he's all bored because he just kills them with one punch. And when, when people ask him, like, hey, so what's your routine? Like, how do you train? He's like, well, I just do like 100 push-ups every day, and, I got and people are like...
And that gets introduced in the first episode, that he's bored because nothing entertains him. So it's not like that's a big spoiler or anything.
The one thing I know about One Punch Man is that it has one of the sexiest waifus in it with D-OS or something like that. Like, she's got like the BDSM vibe to her. That's One Punch Man, isn't it?
Is that the one with green hair?
That one off the top of my head.
Hold on, let me see if I can find it.
Like Storm, like the one from like the X-Men, the girl who controls.
No. She's man, it's like D something. D-O-S death.
As death?
Yeah. Dose death or whatever.
Oh.
As death?
I was gonna say as death is definitely a fucking waifu.
That is definitely not from One Punch Man.
That's not from One Punch, but you know what?
What is that from?
We're going from a very serious, from a very funny anime to a very...
As death is from a Comic Got Kill.
You're never gonna recover.
Oh, yikes.
Okay, I don't know where I thought I saw it from someone.
My God, Akamega Kill was one of those animes that I never recovered.
Okay, for the Minions 80s airing right now. Let's go. Paragon
updates. Yeah. I just changed everything. Wait, all right. Can they hear us talking right now?
Yes, they can. Hey, everybody. We're here with Paragon updates through anime this time.
Oh, it's a One Punch Man character.
Oh, okay. Well, it might be something different then.
Okay, the change is saved, so hopefully the title changed.
Let me refresh the page.
Yeah,
there we go. There we go.
Hey!
And so far, it seems smoother too, so we should be okay there.
This character. Oh, is it not going to load? Shit.
Guys, this is not for the Minions. I'm sorry. Oh, shit. That's crazy. That's kind of funny. That's a way to trick people into watching the new podcast.
Hey,
Name
it
For the Minions. Kwang equals Tanjiro. That's funny.
Yikes.
But wouldn't Kwang be fucking annoying as Zenitsu, though? Because Kwang uses lightning?
I mean, if you're going purely based off the breathing technique, yes, that would be that.
Oh, fuck.
But,
well, I don't know. Let's just go off the cuff now. I want to talk about how fucking annoying Zenitsu is.
Yep.
Yeah, Demon Slayer was badass, but, like, when I watch animes, I watch them as they come out, for the most part. And, like, I almost stopped watching Demon Slayer because, like, I don't know, there's, like, 4 or 5 episodes where it's just fucking Tanjiro and Zenitsu. And Zenitsu is the most annoying, fucking poorly written piece of shit character in almost any anime. Like, just fucking terrible. Like, you can write cowardly characters way better. Mark Lawrence, novelist, he does in the Red Queen Wars, Jalen Kendeth, I think his name is. Just an amazing cowardly protagonist. Fucking He-Man in the 80s did a better job with Cringer that turns into Battle Cat. Zenitsu is just a horrible fucking just shouting at the screen, fucking constantly crying. He's supposed to be there for like comedic effect or something. He could have been done so much better.
I think it's more than that he's just a coward. It's because he's also yelling. It's because he's...
yes.
He's also a womanizer in, like, not horrible ways, but still not great ways either. So it's like it's bad trope on bad trope on bad trope when he's introduced. And it's supposed to be this mind-blowing moment of like, oh, but when he's not that, he's a great character. But we spend more time with him awake than knocked out. So it's just compounding those kind of bad cliches and those bad character archetypes into one of them. Luckily, later on he gets a little bit better, but just early on, it's just so bad.
I do want to ask, did you guys watch the entertainment arc for Demon Slayer?
Yeah, entertainment
Yeah.
district art. Yeah.
Because Zenitsu actually gets like god form in the second season.
But he's also knocked out during that, and like,
Yeah.
that's the thing is we're talking about how like he could have been a great character. Even as a coward, he could have been like nervous and a little, outburst sometimes when something is happening, like when he's face to face with that first demon in the shifting house. That's when he could have been yelling, but it's all the time. It's every single instance. It's whenever one thing slightly goes bad in his way.
Yeah, he's just annoying. And that actually leads me to a question for you guys, because this is what I thought that gets me a little bit more, again, kind of struggling with these two, is because Jujutsu Kaisen supporting characters are way more entertaining and fun to watch than Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer's supporting characters are, in my opinion, fairly subpar. Like, they get a little bit better deeper into the season and going into the next seasons, but you're not really watching it for the supporting characters. You're watching it for, I think, the plot and the story of, like, what's going to happen, but it's mostly for Nezuko and Tanjiro. Like, that's what you're watching it for, because it's a brother and sister that is cute and fun, and you're wanting to see them succeed, and watching their struggles is entertaining into itself. The other supporting characters, terrible. And I would say that the demons or the adversaries are on par as far as their interestingness between the two animes. So that's, I think, part of the reason why I struggle to hands down just give it to Demon Slayer as the better anime, because I don't think, I mean, there's a lot of things that I really love about it, but it's not an end all be all amazing anime. Like, again, the supporting characters I think are fairly garbage.
Otto, I'd highly recommend season 2 of Demon Slayer. It's really good. You will enjoy it.
Yeah.
But as we're still focused on season 1 of both anime, yes, when it comes to Demon Slayer in season 1, a lot of the side characters, are temporary in some regard or another, and even some of the adversaries. So it's kind of hard to get through all of their sort of build up, as well as potentially deal with them, as well as actually have the fight. And as for Zenitsu and
Inosuke?
Inosuke, yeah.
Yeah.
Inosuke, they're very one-note characters for a good bit. They're very much like, here's the joke of their character, and we're just going to play that out consistently.
Yeah.
So
I would say that Demon Slayer would be a 10 for me. It would be a 10 for me if it wasn't for Zenitsu. And
So what is it for real then?
It's a 9. I would say it a 9. I think Jujutsu Kaisen is a 7 at best. I do. I shit on Jujutsu Kaisen a lot.
You do. I don't
Apparently.
understand that, because it to me it's got like yes, it's a typical shonen, but it's got like good aspects to it. The plot is fine. The art is good. The characters are well written. There's a good pacing. Like I can't even. Okay, so then I guess if Demon Slayer's at 9, then what would Jujutsu Kaisen need to be better at for you to go higher? Because I have it at like an 8.5 and an 8 maybe. For you to have it at a 7 is surprising to me.
It just needs to have much better originality. I think it needs to have better animation overall, and just a better story.
You don't think the animation is good, like especially during the fight sequences?
No, it's good. The animation is good. That's what I'm saying. It's not a bad anime. Jujutsu Kaisen 7 is good.
Seven's
everyone
above
needs
average.
so here's the thing
Slightly
that
above average.
here's the thing that everyone always needs to keep in mind when people are rating out of 10. Like 5 is like, I'd watch it because it's a fine anime. Anything above that is considered above average, and everyone needs to always keep that in mind, from viewers to us. Like, rating anything 5 or above means it's a recommendation probably from us.
Yeah,
I think maybe that we need to go to like the grade system or something like that,
But
or give it a percentage.
But what I was saying before, that it's just a rehash of Blue Exorcist. Like look at the characters. Like, I forget the fucking name of the guy from Jujutsu Kaisen, the main character.
Itadori.
Itadori.
Yeah,
Itadori.
Itadori. So you got Itadori and you got the main character from Blue Exorcist. I'm terrible with names, but like
That's okay.
Itadori, dude from Blue Exorcist, both have extremely strong bodies without knowing why. That's established at the very beginning. And then something happens to where they're also half demon. Like Itadori eats the finger. The dude from Blue Exorcist turns out to be the devil's son. And then once those powers are exposed, the higher ups of whatever hierarchy they're in want to kill them because they're a danger to everybody. They go around like exercising like it's whether it be demons or curses, they're both exercising. Exercising. They're not out there jogging.
In some scenes they are. In some scenes.
They jog.
I think the biggest difference though is that Blue Exorcist has Shura, one of my top 3 all-time favorite waifus ever. Oh, Shura.
It's definitely easy to see the big story beats and the very like overall arching things and see the comparisons. Like obviously they're both dealing with spiritual malicious beings that are doing their best for one reason or another, and both trying to convince the main character to be on their side. Very easy to point out those story beats, because that's also a thing, is like both sides want the main character to like, but we can maybe coerce them into this thing or another, which is understandable. You can get those major story beats, but what makes Jujutsu Kaisen, in my opinion, stick out more than Blue Exorcist is because the villains aren't inherently only focused on the main character. Like, we get hints throughout season 1 that there's the first in Jujutsu, the first guy that shows up to the school, he's got the black hair and is really good at summoning. I don't remember his name. I
don't remember his name either. But
but you guys know who I'm talking about. The guy that summons spirits and is kind of just like meh about everything, and with his attitude. Like the villains mention that maybe he's more important in some regard compared to our main character. And not only that, like, Gojo is, there's no one-to-one or even like relative between Gojo and Blue Exorcist characters, because he's trying to topple the whole thing. The old ways worked then, but guess what? We're just going to say, they're just going to shove those in the back dusty closet and we're going to do something new. And that's why I think Jujutsu stands out compared to Blue Exorcist, like story-wise, and why it makes it more unique. Because it's not just, old guys don't like old or follow old traditions, so old tradition says this, we must do this. Gojo adds that freshness. He adds that sort of new take on things to where it's not even like, he doesn't see Itadori and be like, you can handle it, just figure it out now. It's like, I'm gonna put you through the ringer and you're gonna have to figure it out.
I don't know. I think Gojo is similar to Mephisto from Blue Exorcist, really. Mephisto goes against the top brass. He's trying to topple the hierarchy.
I guess
he doesn't personally train.
Well, yeah.
As much as Gojo does, but
listen here, old man. Okay. I wanted to make sure that I had this right, so I looked it up. Blue Exorcist came out in 2011. Okay, you have to be okay with new iterations of old stories being told again. Like, anime has been dude, if we were to go back and back and back, there's no such thing.
Do I have to be?
You do, because that's the evolution. It's not a bad thing if they even took inspiration from an anime like Blue Exorcist and then retold the story, but in a better way. That applies to like every video game that we all play. That applies to every movie that's coming out. It applies to every show that's being reintroduced. It's okay as long as it's being done in a. So I think I take exception that you look at something like Blue Exorcist that came out in 2011, over 10 years ago, and then shit on a newer anime doing wonderful things with a similar storyline, but in its own way, still checking all the boxes. So there's no like direct negative where that like this character just is bad. This thing shouldn't exist. Like so I mean, if you gave me more like substantial like this anime is not good because of these, like, plot holes or this whatever, then I think I would be okay with it. But saying that because it's similar to Blue Exorcist that came out over 10 years ago, that's I don't know. I just
I'm not
think
saying I'm not saying that it's not good. Jujutsu Kaisen is good.
You're lowering the rank. I asked you.
Yeah, I'm lowering the rank because it's not as original as Demon Slayer. And you can't tell me that I can't.
Demon Slayer's not that original.
Originality.
It's not that original. Demon Slayer is original in a sense, but it's not that original. Come on now.
Far more original than Jujutsu Kaisen.
Well, that's true, but it's also Demon Slayer is taking itself a lot more seriously.
Black Clover. Here's the thing about Black Clover. I watched Demon Slayer at about the same time as I watched Black Clover.
Oh,
and
Black
like,
Clover,
and I was like,
Clover.
I was like, what the fuck is this? Is anime just a blonde kid shouting now? What is this shit? Like, I was so mad.
Asta is basically Zenitsu, except without the crying. He's just the yelling. It's literally the same thing.
Oh, fucking hell.
Research earlier.
But I think there's so many great examples of anime out there that is very original, has a brand new storyline, that doesn't just borrow so heavily from previously established storylines.
Yeah, and Demon Slayer does do that. It takes the idea of like a tragic struck hero and trying to fix someone close to them because they're ailed with something. That is pretty common, at least it has been. But the way Demon Slayer makes it original is it's not. How do I word this? I've got the idea in my mind, but just getting it out there. Because it doesn't focus purely on like what can be considered the sickness. Like, it's not every single time it gets brought up. They're not constantly worrying about Nezuko. They treat Nezuko as a character that is strong in her own regard and doesn't need to be helped. She doesn't need to be protected. She needs to be protected as much as Tanjiro does. And honestly, that boy, he needs that protection sometimes. Like, goddamn. But it never treats any of the main characters as if somebody that needs to rely so much on other people that they're not confident in their own strengths and their own regards. It treats every character as somebody who can stand on their own ground in their own ways.
Mm-hmm.
There's no character that's thrown to the side because of one small reason or another. Like, we don't have Nezuko hiding in the box forever because, she's a demon and can't control herself. They do their best to make sure that each character strengths outweigh their weaknesses. But when the weaknesses do come up, they hit hard there. They hit hard on those weaknesses when they come up.
See, I think that's where, again, I'm having such a hard time with like this ranking, because to me, Nezuko and Tanjiro are the only redeeming, at least as far as your protagonists. They're the only redeeming characters in the show. Now the enemies are great. They're written well. They have great. I think that whole plot and idea is amazing in my opinion. But every other supporting character in Demon Slayer is subpar. They look like they're either written by an edgelord or written by by like a 12-year-old who thinks that loud noises are funny. Like, it's just annoying. It's annoying. Whereas with Jujutsu Kaisen, every single one of the characters, the main characters, I don't know how you pick a main character because it all follows. It's technically supposed to follow Itadori, but it's not just about him. We get a lot of backstory and done well about all of the characters, and they're all unique and interesting and kind of fun to root for in their own ways. Whereas I don't feel that way at all. If they were to replace Itadori with Megumi or with or just go pure Gojo, we would probably still enjoy watching the show. If you were to do that same thing with almost any of the supporting characters of Demon Slayer, the show wouldn't be as good.
Well, let's think about it for a minute, though, because you're making a good point, except that in Jujutsu Kaisen, all three characters are basically the same, to the point where you can say, yeah, any of these three characters can be the main character. When we're talking about Demon Slayer, all three characters share completely different attitudes. Like, say, for example, Tanjiro is very calm, thoughtful, he thinks stuff through, and then you have Zenitsu, who's plain annoying, and then you have
Inosuke,
thank you, Mangus. Inosuke, who is completely impulsive and always angry and always wanting to be better and be the best at everything. Like, you have completely different personalities in all three of them, which makes them kind of bond nicely together. It's like having a sweet and Power Patch Kid, with all of it together. It just fits well in the story. And that makes a good differentiation in between the main characters in Demon Slayer and in Jujutsu Kaisen. You have different personalities that just, I mean, yeah, it is annoying to hear Zenitsu, but he kind of fits in there. I mean, he really.
I think Inoseki or Inoseki, I'm blanking. I'm totally whatever. The kid
You
with
almost said it. Inosuke.
yeah, he's also kind of annoying to be honest. I don't think. I mean, he's cool when he's fighting. Like his style is cool, but I don't think he's like a fun character to root for.
I said he's Walmart Vegeta.
That's a very good. That's actually a very very good comparison to me. It's like,
No.
I just don't think that they give anything outside of that. Like the two main characters are interesting because of their depth and quality that they're given. Those other guys don't have any depth. One screams the whole time and makes weird flirts at Nezuko, and then the other guy screams all the time but is always angry about it. Like it's just they're both just they're edgelordy written by 12-year-olds who think loud noises are funny. Like that's it. I don't know understand it.
What is the depth in the story of Kugisaki and Megumi, the two side characters of
Great question. I can answer it, and I'll let one of the other guys answer it if they want to. But I'll give you so Megumi. I think you get a really good episode, or actually a couple episodes where it goes a little bit more depth about where he comes from with his family, how he's had to learn about how to use his abilities, and yeah, he's kind of like got this like whole quiet demeanor thing, you know, like a Sasuke almost kind of vibe to him, which is fine. Like, you know, he's not meant to be flashy, but when they give him those powerful statements, like there's moments when he talks about, you know, Itadori and why he saved him, or, you know, like there's just like these, you know, little moments where you can see his compassion and his care, and that makes his character feel more alive and true. Like you don't feel like he's going to do something that's outside of his character arc. And I could say the same thing about Nobara, but she's obviously, I don't think she gets as much screen time. She's a little bit more of a squawky, yelly lady, but I also still think she's kind of funny, so I don't mind.
I liked her. I liked her.
Yeah,
I like her
the
too.
thing that makes her different in terms of her sort of loudness and brashness is that it's not in every single scene she's in. It's in moments where stakes are very low, and it's kind of led into that. Unlike Zenitsu, where, you know, it comes out of nowhere, or you can see it coming, but you just don't want it to. Yeah, but and the thing is that in Jujutsu Kaisen, each of the other two supporting characters are supporting not just Itadori, but each other as well. Unlike in Demon Slayer, where the supporting characters are only supporting Tanjiro, or Tanjiro is supporting them. It's very rare you see Zenitsu and Inosuke supporting each other. You don't see them interact more unless it's yelling for the other one to shut up. And that's it. So you get more chemistry out of Jujutsu because the characters are a little bit more grounded. They're a little bit more, you know, civilized, I guess is the word that I can use there. Unlike Inosuke and Zenitsu, who just yell until it's time for their story to be written in a good way. So that can definitely be why a reason for Jujutsu over Demon Slayer, because you can get a little bit more chemistry between the supporting characters and the main one, and the supporting characters with each other as well. And because with what happens with Itadori in season 1, he's not in the show that much, so the other characters get to shine just as much as him, and they're not considered subpar in their own regard either.
I do want to say that. I agree with that.
I just wanted to say I don't think that Demon Slayer is a bad show. In fact, I still think it's better than Jujutsu Kaisen. I just don't think it's as far off as Mangu's made it sound. And that's mostly because the reason why I think Demon Slayer is better is because I think the two main characters that are featured and are so hard to not want to root for, they just capture you, like that brother sister love, and like the uniqueness in which they've shown their love and care for each other. Like I have not seen that in an anime before. Well, I guess maybe one, but that's a whole nother thing we can go into. But it would, like, I love that. And the story of Demon Slayer is way more tragic. It's way more serious. And so I think what threw me is when they brought in Zenitsu and Inosuke the way that they did, it felt more kitschy. It felt more like it was a stark contrast, divergent from the plot line that we had started to establish and go down. That was a little bit darker and a little bit more serious. And I don't have a problem with the animes, like, you know, trying to be lighthearted in moments, but that felt like it was like a major shift in when they brought those characters into play, and I wasn't a fan of it personally. I liked it before.
So, what do you feel about, or what do you think about that whole episode with Junpei Yoshino? Junpei Yoshino is basically Itadori's only friend outside, the school where he's at right now. This guy is the character whose mom got killed.
Oh,
Yeah,
him.
and he ends
Right,
up, yeah,
the
yeah,
guy
I
at
know
the
what you're
theater.
talking
The
about.
guy at the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he was watching a movie. Then the three people that were bullying him. got
Yeah,
turned into-
dude.
That
And
one.
it keeps
That one.
He keeps his hair like this because
Oh.
he's got cigarette
Oh.
burns all over his forehead.
Dude, that just
Oh.
gave me chills thinking about it. That was a very weird.
That was
I was
disturbing.
not expecting. That was so good though, right? From a storytelling perspective,
Yeah.
at least I think so. Like I was, and I think it forced Itadori in a way to grow up there. That's such a good
Oh, yeah.
moment
Yes.
to bring.
Real
Like,
turning point.
see, Jujutsu Kaisen is better than I think Mangus is giving it credit
No,
for.
it's not.
I think the problem
It
is that Jujutsu Kaisen does not have as many episodes as Demon Slayer, and it's really getting into character development, which is one of the things that I mentioned at the beginning. One of the reasons why I like anime is precisely because of that. Now,
Yeah.
when we talk about Jujutsu Kaisen, that is precisely the point where basically Gojo and the other ones are like, this guy, I mean, he's just starting. He's barely realizing that these demons are or were actually humans. What you're
Mhm.
killing that you had no compassion about are humans. And from there, I mean, Itadori started literally having doubts about killing, that scene of the babies.
Mhm, mhm.
Started having doubts about killing it. He was like, I can't do this. I mean, this is not the same thing.
Mhm.
So I believe that there's still more ongoing. Like we talked about it, season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen is coming out in just 3 days. We'll see how that goes. The movie is very serious because if you guys haven't watched it, the
Haven't
movie
watched it
is
yet.
not about Itadori. The movie is about Okatsu, which is basically the only second year student that is not in the whole season of
Ooh. They
Interesting.
talk about him though.
Yeah, that's why they
Toto-
brought the first years in because he wasn't showing
he's
up. Right?
basically-
Yeah,
he's
Toto
ba-
kept like yelling about wanting that guy to be there. I love Toto, by the way, one of my favorite characters. He
Oh,
was
yeah.
so great. What's your favorite, or what's your woman preference or whatever? that was so
Shura? What?
Huh?
No,
No,
we're not
Toto.
asking for your preference.
Oh!
That's his question.
That's
Yeah,
my
that's-
question.
That's
Jennifer
your
Lawrence,
question.
is she really that tall, and is her ass really that big?
I
I don't. When I think of a tall girl with a big ass, I don't really think of Jennifer Lawrence. But
I don't
goddamn it,
either, but-
they really
but-
implied it during
but-
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh, goddamn.
maybe in comparison to the
he was a
women
good.
they're
He was
used
a
to,
Toto was a great character. Toto was a
Toto's
great character.
hilarious. I love Toto.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
he has-
you watched the
he-
movie or you haven't watched the movie, Utah
I
is.
haven't watched it yet, but I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
same.
I'm not gonna
couldn't
call it for you. I'm just gonna say Utah, based on what they said on season 1, it's the strongest student. I think Go just said that even he would have issues
I
fighting.
think I remember seeing some comment on that.
He is top of the line on this. What are they? They're not exorcists. What are they? What are they called?
Sorceress, Jujutsu Sorceress.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They might as well just be exorcists, though. My point has been made by that
This
little.
is so
pop-up.
weird.
See,
So I
thought
tried to find out
exorcists
for you what Jennifer Lawrence's height is, and they don't give her height in the preview. They
What
give
about
her
her-
shoe size though.
But dimensions.
They don't do that by diameter. But I'm just saying, when you type in Jennifer Lawrence in the about section on Google, it does. It says born. It gives her born, and then her shoe size is second. Her shoe size is second. And I think why, bro? Feet guys. Listen, I am not a kink shamer in any way, shape, or form. But the foot people, like the guys who
There's-
really got a feet thing, and that they are very like aggressive.
There's
It's
a reason
weird.
for that. I did an entire video about foot fetishes. There's
It's
an
like
actual
something to do with the frontal
chemical
lobe or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the wall is like connected to each other or something like
Trust
that.
me, guys, we're
And-
still talking about anime here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just corresponds.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I just thought that
No,
was
you're
so
fine.
random.
You're fine. It's funny. It's funny as hell. But Toto has one of my favorite powers that I think is always underutilized, which is position switching.
Oh, yeah.
Switching.
Yeah,
it's
that was a
so
good one.
underutilized, but it's one of my favorite abilities, and I want it even in video games. Like, you could do so much with it, and he does, and it's cool.
It goes back to character development. I mean, again, this is the reason why I do agree with Viking. I think that Jujutsu Kaisen just deserves a little more credit. I mean, come on, we have the guy we have a panda, we have someone called Toge who has the ability of curses just by speaking, and then you have Maki who has absolutely zero secret power, and it's all just her. She's just a badass. She's just a woman who does not even have the ability to look at demons, and she has to use special glasses, and she still kicks ass. Like, she has no power whatsoever, yet she's top of the line.
Oh
Like,
man, I wonder if they did that in Bleach. Oh yeah, that the captain. I forget.
Wait, when did Bleach come out? In 2004?
Bleach came out like fucking 1964 or some shit. I don't know. It's old as fuck.
I'm just saying. Okay, I completely agree. First of all, I think one of the things that I give a lot to Jujutsu Kaisen that I think is super not being talked about, well, at least not until Owen brought it up, is that each of the side characters' development is done, I think, so well and in a short period of time. Like, you immediately got buy-in on Panda, right? You get a little bit of his backstory. You get the backstory on the guy he's fighting against. You get back, like, every time they have something, there's still action going on while you're learning about the characters, and they're not boring to learn about. They're not like, God,
it doesn't feel like a break in the action either. It doesn't feel like, and suddenly everything stops. Backstory time, monologue.
Yeah.
It's as they're fighting, things get
great.
revealed throughout all of it. That way, it feels like people bantering during a fight.
It's fun. I also, and I wonder your guys' thought on this. Like, in there, they kept talking about how, like, they reveal exactly what their ability does, and it makes it stronger somehow. Like, it's supposed to, like, when you reveal it to your enemy, that it's like the curse, like, you're revealing what the curse does, it like has a bigger impact. I think that's pretty neat.
So that was actually specifically about the spirits at the end there with the singular arm shown at first. The point of that one
it gets mentioned a couple more times.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, you haven't watched those episodes yet, though, but it does get mentioned a few more times.
Well, I think, well, in that case, never mind about my theory then.
Well,
Because I was going to say, with that one specifically, by mentioning what it does, it makes them want to fight against it, but by fighting against that makes it stronger. That's what I thought it was with that one specifically, and it might be that case with the next few episodes that I have yet to watch.
The one... Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was jumping.
No, that's it.
Well, the one teacher that uses the cleaver, he says it, like, sometimes revealing your...
Right.
Your technique makes it stronger, but that was more in like a psychological way. It didn't actually make it stronger. It's just revealing your technique sometimes makes your opponent overthink things.
I think it comes to the idea of, like, yelling out the name makes you put more emphasis, more heart, more spirit into it, sort of thing. That might be part of it too, is like putting your body into calling it a special move makes it feel more special, so that way you put in that spirit energy to it.
Well, so the reason why I thought it might have something is because and again, you haven't watched it yet, but the other guys have. So with the brothers, the three brothers at the end, the brother with the corruption, he talks about, I've now told you what it does. It's going to make it more powerful, and like she's gonna die or whatever. Like, sorry, I'm giving you a bit of a spoiler, but it's like
I'm gonna catch up anyway.
Yeah, when they're fighting on the bridge, do you guys remember that? Like, it's like the last few episodes, right? So. That's why I was like, man, I wasn't sure if that was something.
Yeah, the Chippendale dancer guy says that.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't sure if I was paying attention to it before, and so if that was something that was consistent, that the power of the curses comes through when they've explained what they do, or if that, either way, if that's the truth, I think that's a really cool concept. I like that as an idea because it makes it smart for the show designers to be able to tell you what the abilities are doing, while not giving away their power, because sometimes in like a lot of shonen, like, well, I'm going to do this spirit bomb, and it's like, well, why are you telling me? Why don't you just fucking do it? And then when I'm taking all the damage, I'm like, man, what was that? So I thought it was cool in that regard that they could tell it, but they had it impactful in a way that it's like makes it stronger by talking about it. You know what I mean?
And that can also go into like some people find plot holes and like, wait, if they said this is what the ability does, why doesn't the opponent just deal with that then? Now that they know what it does. So by having that be the issue of like, by saying it makes it stronger, that could, again, theory crafting in my mind is like, part of the reason that could be in Jujutsu is because now they acknowledge and are now paying attention to it. Since a lot of these are spirit-based attacks, a lot of these are putting energy into something. Now that the opponent is looking at it and focusing on it, they realize it's there more, and thus partially acknowledging it more, making it grow stronger in that regard as well.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows the actual reason unless it's specifically said, but like that's my version of like why saying it might actually cause it to do stronger things.
I think it would be cool if that is the case.
Fun fact.
Yes.
Jujutsu Kaisen 0, which is the one and only movie from Jujutsu Kaisen, and Mugen Train, which is the only movie from Demon Slayer. Jujutsu Kaisen on, box office, the very first day, sold $5.8 million. And Mugen Train sold $5.7 million.
Boom.
During COVID times.
Hold up, though.
Bigger number, better person. Bigger number, better person.
Today, Jujutsu Kaisen has, $0.1 million more than Mugen Train. However, the record shows that the highest gross anime movie is Demon Slayer Mugen Train with $9.5 million at the end of that weekend.
Yeah.
So more people went to watch Mugen Train, but the first day, Jujutsu Kaisen actually got more people. The very first day of launch. So that was just a little bit of a
question. Is the Jujutsu movie canon?
No. Well, yes, but it's not meant to be Itadori's story. So Itadori is not even in the movie.
Yeah. Well, I was just asking you if it was canon. That's all.
It is.
Like, does it come from the manga and all that stuff?
It does. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Because Mugen Train is the next step in Demon Slayer, so there'd be a lot of reason to go see that as well.
But Jujutsu Kaisen takes place before Itadori's story. Right before Itadori joined the whole thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and do you want to address Stumpy's? He seems that he's now really sad to find out that you're a weeb. Do you want to talk to him directly as the top ethereal simp and you being the COO of Ethereal?
No.
Okay, here's what I want to bring up now. Climaxes for both animes. Oh, yeah. I want to talk about that climax.
Oh.
We're not talking Shura from Blue Exorcist again. So the climaxes, I'll tell you one thing about Demon Slayer. The climax of Demon Slayer is episode 19. That is the only anime where I can identify it by the episode number. Like, out of every anime I've ever watched, I can tell you what the climax of Demon Slayer is, because I think that is probably the single greatest episode of anime ever. I don't think Demon Slayer is the best anime ever. That episode, by far the best. That is the one where Tanjiro is fighting the spider boss, the waning moon. I forget his fucking whatever his eye.
The lower fifth.
Yeah, the lower fifth, and it's where Nezuko releases her blood arts and all that. That is just such a fucking amazing episode of anime. I can't remember what Jujutsu Kaisen's climax was.
That's because the whole show was a climax, to be honest.
Oh yeah, you think so?
Two big ones. Jujutsu had two.
Yeah.
That was when Gojo first takes off his mask and you see his eyes. And the second one was when we see the black magic art from Itadori when he's fighting
best friend. Oh, big brother. Yeah, no, it's so good.
When he uses the black mystic art thing multiple times. That's the second climax. Yeah.
I don't know. I think Jujutsu Kaisen does a lot well. I don't think it does anything great. I think Demon Slayer does a lot of things like Inosuke and Zenitsu, but I think they do a lot of things absolutely
So
great.
Jujutsu is more consistent, while Demon Slayer has better highs and more often lows.
Yeah,
I would agree with
I think
that.
that's a good assessment, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think so I agree that particular storyline for Demon Slayer was amazing. It was beautiful television, beautiful writing, and the fight sequences were. That's the thing, though. Demon Slayer just does such a good job in those moments. It's outside of those moments, though, that they really struggle, and that's why I feel like, Jujutsu Kaisen kind of takes the edge in a little bit in some, at least, and like we were talking about. So it's a spiky versus more consistent. Like it's not as big as maybe Demon Slayer in some parts, but it consistently is doing things well. And so it's like, again, Mingus, I don't understand how you can tear it down so far in the
because
comparisons.
I've seen so much better anime.
But
Jujutsu
that's
Kaisen.
not the point here. We're looking at these two anime and comparing them and
Demon
saying
Slayer
one
is
versus
better.
I don't.
Oh
God.
Oh,
What do you
Pain
think
versus
about
Naruto was also probably one of the best anime scenes of all time.
Naruto can go fuck itself. I hate Naruto.
Ooh, that's a separate episode there if we want it to be.
Mangoose, we're gonna fucking fight, dude. You know what? Listen.
You know what? While we're at it, Dragon Ball Z, go fuck itself too.
That's
fine.
fine. I don't care.
That's fine. I love Dragon Ball, and that's fine. I love Dragon Ball, and that's fine.
Dude, Dragon Ball Z was like for those guys who wanted to like anime, they picked that. Like it's like the Madden football of anime.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, I'm a gamer. Oh yeah, what game do you play? Madden? Oh, okay, cool. Or 2K. Get the fuck out of here, bro. You don't like anime.
Unsubbed, I'm out.
Yep, there you go. Sorry, Lax. Luckily, it's not my channel. My opinions are valid.
I think it's good because I believe that one of these mainstream animes is what basically got us into anime. I mean, if you think about it, Dragon Ball Z,
Yeah.
right? Naruto. All of these ones were coming out in Cartoon Network. I mean, they were coming out in other channels rather than Crunchyroll and Funimation. Like, even though they're made by that, here in America, that's what it used to be streamed. So a lot of us who fall in love with anime fell in love with Dragon Ball Z first. Fell in love with, I guess Naruto and One Piece and
Bleach. Yeah.
There's so many, but for the new generation of people getting into anime, but also anime in general, with Demon Slayer and Jujutsu, these are both really good anime that both do various things. Maybe not for people that are squeamish around violence and or bloody. But for people that can handle that, these are two. I would show either one of these to my friends and be like, "Hey, this would be a good way to get into anime."
Yeah, it's less like overwhelming too, right? Like if you were to try and get somebody into the classics, right? You're gonna tell them to watch Bleach. You're gonna tell them to watch One Piece. It's got over 1,000 episodes. You're gonna tell them to watch Naruto. No, you're not gonna do that. But you absolutely.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, Full Metal
and Death Note are my.
Well, that's a completed story, so.
Right. I do think it's easier to say like, hey, are you looking for something kind of fun and easy to get into? Either one of these animes is gonna do that. I mean, I maybe would have thrown like, if they're looking for something more epic, you could throw Black Clover in there. I think Black Clover is basically the newer version of Naruto. It's not. I don't think it's as good as Naruto, but it does the same things that Naruto did, and in just a newer anime style.
Yeah, Black Clover is definitely one of the safer quote unquote animes to throw somebody into. It's long enough so you can get that feel of being introduced to a story and lingering it with it for a while. It's not the most violent in the world, though. The combat does. The thing about Black Clover, and just a quick thing on that, when Black Clover wants to look good, it looks good.
True.
Otherwise, it's fine.
I think Black Clover started with a really good budget, and then throughout the episodes, the budget started going down until Black Clover gained one more time popularity. And the last season is just
the last
that is 100% the story. That actually
is it actually,
and you can actually see the point in Black Clover where they lose their budget.
Oh my god! Yeah, I didn't know that was the story.
Yeah,
I just thought like
100% the story.
Oh, this could have been done so much better. Why wasn't it? But
they thought it was going to be the next Naruto, so they funded the shit out of it at first.
Oh no!
So it had such great animation, and then like after season 1, it just fucking falls off a cliff.
Didn't Fairy Tail have a similar issue? Because Fairy Tail was like popping off, and then like it just kept going. Like then there was somebody who went on strike, like one of the writers, and so they had to like do like a whole bunch of like fluff, and then they lost. I could have swore that was with Fairy Tail.
No, with Fairy Tail. I think Fairy Tail stays pretty similar across the line. As a matter of fact, one of the things about I guess if we start talking about all these animes, we're gonna continue until next week, right? Because Fairy Tail, Bleach, all of these animes have like so much to talk about. But no, Fairy Tail is not the same scenario as Black Clover. for sure they just continue having budget all across. And
There you go. Otto said it. They kept switching studios.
That
Um,
might be why. It might not be a loss
could
of
be.
budget, just a
It
switch
could
of
be.
budget.
Now, one of the things that they are doing is Fairy Tail finished with 286 episodes, something around that, and
Right.
it ended up in such a good note. Fans wanted it so much that it got confirmed that the 100 or 1,000 year quest is coming out soon, which is basically the next step of Fairy Tail, right? It's basically Natsu and their friends go in 1,000 years quest. So basically, kiss goodbye to everybody else who you ever met, right? Because this is gonna take forever, and
Love
it's they're currently working on that. Now,
Sure.
going back a little bit to Demon Slayer,
Yes.
hey,
Circle us back around,
Oh.
Owen.
Hashiras, right? Hashiras. What do we think about Goku and Tenjin Usui, which is the Sound Hashira of season 2?
Are we gonna talk about season 2?
Do we
No,
wanna
I
talk-
don't. No, let's not
No.
get into the following seasons.
So, back to that, right? Just Rengoku. What do you guys think about that whole
I
arc?
didn't know what to expect going into Mugen Train. I think Mugen Train's been out long enough that we can at least talk about that one. Is
I
that
haven't
fine,
seen it.
Mingers? No,
You guys
Okay,
can talk
well,
about it. I just haven't seen it.
Mugen Train would be the movie, and then I guess it would be a little bit of a filler episodes of season 2, because season 2.
Okay, the thing about
Pretty-
Mugen Train is that it was made canon. So you can either watch the Mugen Train as episodic through the beginning of season 2, or you can watch the Mugen Train movie and they cover relatively the same things with a little bit of difference in between. Mugen Train, with spoiler-free Mugen Train, was a lot better than I expected. And I didn't expect it bad. I expected this is gonna be an anime movie. It's gonna be really good. It's gonna have a great climax and look beautiful during the climactic ending. And it did. And then it went further than I expected there at the end there. Because I was like, oh, okay, cool. Oh wait, no, this is happening now? Okay, hold on. and that caught my attention, and I didn't know what to go into this, because and seeing what happens in Mugen Train set my expectations for Entertainment Arc and what the possibility could be with Entertainment Arc. So Mugen Train is the perfect sort of lead / setup into the if you want to call second half of season 2. So I think for those people that haven't seen Mugen Train, 100% watch it. I'd personally say the movie, just so that way you can know you're sitting down and there's no break between credits. There's no after credits scene. It's just one good continuous sit through. So I would highly recommend it because it does a perfect job of setting your expectations for the next season.
Fair enough.
Viking in chat asking which of these two anime has the better waifus. I would say Jujutsu Kaisen has the better waifus.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
They're
Slayer
really- There aren't many in Demon Slayer until you get to season 3.
I mean, you get 2 Hashiras. So far, that's
Yeah, 2 of the Hashiras are kind of cute. I don't know. I think Jujutsu Kaisen just has better. If we're just talking season 1, Jujutsu Kaisen has the better waifus.
I guess you're right. So you got
But Spider Mom.
Maki.
Spider Mom, Spider Mom's a sleeper for sure. I think Spider Mom was kind of hot. There's something to be said about that.
I can get on board with that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Do we get Butterfly Girl in Demon Slayer at season 1?
Yes,
the girl
yes, we do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she. I mean,
Shinobu.
I'm just saying.
Yes, she's the original. I don't know if I can say original, but she's the her voice actress is absolutely adored for her famous ara type of
There
Is
you
that
go.
true? Okay.
Interesting.
All right. Well,
Well-
so then if we all agree that for the most part Jujutsu has the better waifus, then in Jujutsu, which is the best waifu?
Maki, hands down.
Maki.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, I don't think Maki's bad. I'm just you're both saying it. Okay.
Yeah, that's not something I ever really truly focus on, much less I forget names anyway, so I pay
Maki's
attention
the
to the
one with
fight
the
scenes.
glasses.
Yeah, I remember who she
Okay.
is. But just purely based on looks, the girl that loses her sword in the forest and then sleeps halfway through that.
Yes, dude.
There
She
we
was my favorite. Okay,
Yeah.
so I actually think
Miwa?
Nobara. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Miwa.
believe that's her
That's
name,
to me.
Yeah.
Miwa.
Yeah, Kasumi Miwa. I think she was really, really cute. But I do also like Nobora. I think Nobora, like her whole like attitude and like how they're all like telling her that she's not cute enough. I'm sitting there going like, dude, I think she's super cute. And then she'll tell them that she's cute. And I think she's just like from a depth character wise, I think she's hilarious, and so I like her for that. But I think Kasumi Miwa or whatever how to say her name is probably top waifu for me of the. Not that the rest of them are any slouches, but yeah. There you go.
So we've talked quite a bit about these two shonen animes, but let's talk about what shonen is. So shonen is really a demographic, which means just an anime that's targeted towards young men. And I think we can argue that almost 90% of anime is targeted towards young men. The way I look at it is it's kind of like MOBA. MOBA just means a multiplayer online battle arena, right? If you take that standard definition, it applies to almost all current video games. When you say MOBA, you think of a certain type of game. Everybody thinks of a MOBA. And I think it's the same way with shonen. Yeah, shonen is a demographic, but when you think of a shonen anime, I think certain types of anime come to mind.
I think part of that is because there's the Shonen Jump anime, I believe, or not anime, magazine.
Was that a studio? Or it's just okay.
Yeah, there's a magazine where like shonen based manga shows up the most. So that's why I believe like it's easy to put a lot of animes into the shonen category, but that's why some of them are more not fitting, but more accurately thought of when put into that category is because they appeared in the Jump manga or Jump magazine. So through that's where we get those easy to picture ideas of it. It's because of that magazine that you can think of those more mainstream ones like Jujutsu, like Demon Slayer, like My Hero, like Boruto, stuff like that, where because it's appeared in that magazine, that's why they're labeled as shonen. Despite the fact that, as Mangu said, there's a lot that could be thrown into that category.
Well, I think for me, when I think of shonen, I think of like the direction in which the plot is going to heavily lean. To me, it seems like it's going to be more, action-based, quick cuts. Like usually a aggressive male protagonist. And dealing with like. I mean, almost always like with powers or some kind of like, martial arts or something like that. Like Yu-Gi-Oh is still to me a shonen. Like, is it way more kid-like? Sure. But it's still got those same kind of like ideas. Like the pacing feels the same in any shonen that I can think of. Like, so whether we're looking at, One Piece, we're looking at Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Black Clover, Demon Slayer, like you could even go in some of the sports animes, right? Like those ones, like I'm totally blanking on the volleyball one, but that one to me is still a shonen.
Haikyuu.
Like it's Haikyuu, which I know is supposed to be really good. I watched it a little bit with my daughter, but it wasn't one that really caught me. Too many pretty boys. I'm not really a fan. But to me, I think that's the thing though, is like that kind of like it's that, when I think shonen, I think of that. Like it's like again heavy, like male protagonist, action based, quick cut sequences, usually lots of yelling. And usually also like lots of build up filler for whatever major plot point is going to come out. But these two anime I actually don't think do that. That's which makes me like these types of shonen a lot more, is because they don't really have those like huge like fluff build up episodes, then major plot, then huge fluff, and then major plot. Like it's both of these do well to carry the plot fairly consistently.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about shonen? Owen?
Yeah, so I basically had the same document that you just read off, because that was exactly how I was like, well, let's talk about what shonen is. Because I remember when you guys selected the genre, I was like, well, I don't really even know how to describe it. And I started looking for different animes. And then I see Your Lie on April. And I'm like, what is going on here? What is going on? Like, why is
great anime
shonen?
Great anime, but definitely not what I think of as a shonen anime, yeah.
Now, I wonder what they mean by youth, though. Because some of these shonens, like Attack on Titan, I don't think those animes should be for... I mean... What, younger than 18? I mean, some of these are like very brutal.
Yeah, they're brutal, but I mean...
Yeah, Japan has a different culture than us, so I don't know what over there. could be
Right, you know what? I think that
acceptable
after
for-
16, they are considered young adults, and from that aspect, things like gory animes, like damn, what's the name of this anime? Um, it's precisely another one about demons. It's a very gory anime. What is this called?
There's so
Oh.
many. Like, good luck.
I thought you were
Tokyo Ghoul. Tokyo Ghoul.
Oh, Tokyo Ghoul. I thought you were talking
Oh,
about
yeah,
Goblin.
yeah.
I thought you were going to talk about Goblin Slayer, which I
Oh
think
my
is
god!
God, that one
Oh
is-
god! I don't think that
one
one's a
I watched
shonen.
the first
I'm not gonna
episode,
call
and
that one a shonen.
I literally was gonna stop because I watched the first episode. I was like, yeah, this is
Fair.
not for me. And one of my
Fair.
friends was like, no, dude, continue watching it. They're like, they have to show why goblins are,
Actually, threats.
terrible in this anime.
Yeah.
Like, why are they so bad for this one character to dedicate his life to kill goblins, right? So that's why they made the whole first episode absolutely disgusting and just yeah, extreme, really.
Yeah. Warning about Goblin Slayer if you're ever gonna watch that one.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. I also think though
It's
too, like
it's
some of
good,
this, the shonen idea, right, is probably also stemming from the mangas, and I think the restrictions on like what you can show in the mangas is a lot more relaxed in Japan. So the shonen idea is different, I think, for manga than versus what has evolved now that we think about mainstream anime, right? Like I don't think that like all shonen is now considered aimed at young audiences, whereas earlier shonen, when we think about some of the older ones, like if you think about One Piece doesn't deal with a lot of adult stuff until later on. Like it starts to, but when you think about like the manga, same thing with like Naruto or Dragon Ball Z or any of those, like for the most part they're
Pretty
fairly
campy.
tame. Yeah, they're not too bad, right? Like the fighting is probably the worst parts of it. Whereas now a more modern shonen deals with way more complex natures. And I would
yeah.
never, even though it's still labeled as shonen, I wouldn't consider that. I think the name is evolved from its original meaning. I guess that's where I'm going to leave it at. Does that make sense?
I mean, that makes sense because, what shonen was back when manga and anime were starting to become a thing is going to change because the world changes, society changes, but also like
no, it doesn't.
I'm
joking.
Regardless, I think most shonen animes these days are, as you mentioned, young adults as the protagonists doing, making progress. But a lot of them are maturity stories, even if it's not literal. Like it's not a young teen going into adulthood. It can be seen as maturity through learning what their abilities do, learning how to control their own emotions. Like Jujutsu, they even talk about that. Like, hey, while as a Jujutsu sorcerer, you need to be able to keep control of your emotions and your spiritual energy. Like, a lot of them are keeping emotions in check, making sure you don't go berserk. They even talk about that in Demon Slayer as well, where they talk about like you have your breathing technique, but you can't let your emotions break that breathing.
Yeah.
You have to keep that going. So a lot, and even in My Hero, they talk about like you got to keep your emotions in check. It's fine to let that anger out. It's fine to let emotions help, but never let that be the only driving force. And that's in like that line and that concept is in so many shonens, to my knowledge, is like, don't let your emotions control you. Feel them, but don't let them be the only thing that drives you.
I think Shonen 2, it targets young men in a way that it gives them a fantasy that they can live through that character. Like they can see themselves as that character and doing things, and which is why I don't think Your Lie in April is a shonen anime, because no young man's like, yeah, I really want to be a famous pianist that has his mother die and then fucking befriends like a. Okay, we're not going to get into Your Lie in Anime.
Spoilers. I haven't seen
That's
it.
from the very fucking beginning. That's not a spoiler.
I'm just saying. We said
Oh no,
spoilers,
episode
but
1,
not
I've been
for-
spoiled. I'm out.
We
Goodbye.
said spoilers, but only for these two anime. We didn't say we're gonna spoil other anime, Mangoose. Stick with the program.
But anyway, yeah, I think that's kind of my definition of a shonen anime.
Totally
So-
understandable.
I don't know.
Oh,
I think that
because
about
we're
wraps it up.
manga.
Unless you guys want to keep going, I could fucking talk for hours about anime, but
I mean, I'm hoping that we get a little bit of input from from chat and any questions that they had also. But I mean, I do love the way that more like the modern anime, even when it relates to what I would have considered like the lowest bar, which is shonen. I think shonen tends to be again like the bro, animes. I feel like both of these anime make that idea way more nuanced and beautiful. Like to me, Demon Slayer is a beautiful, beautiful. I mean, the sound is so good. I mean, we're talking about the breathing techniques. Like you hear him do that breath in and the breath out, and like and they have the right pauses at the right time. They let the speaking breathe. They like let it breathe. They let the episode itself breathe. They let the moment have its breath. And I think that's so important when we think of modern storytelling. Like, and it's just so beautiful. Like I just have never seen animation like that in any other anime. I can't, at least that I've seen. Now you super weebs maybe have seen one that does animation on a similar level, but for me that's why I give it the edge, because I've never had like a visceral reaction to a fight sequence the same way that I did this. Now I've gotten hyped for other fight sequences to the same level. Like there's some Naruto fights that are just beautiful. I've cried watching Naruto. Like it's some of the most emotional anime that I've seen, but I don't know, man. Jujutsu Kaisen, though, is just a solid all-around great anime for me. And that's why I still rank it so high. It bothers me that Mangoose puts it so low, because I think it's
you
a
didn't
preference. Cry episode 19 of Demon Slayer?
I don't think well, maybe I did. I don't know. It's been a while
watch
since I've
it again. Go cry now.
Oh, my
Prove
God.
the point.
His father comes in, like the spirit of his father to teach.
They set that up, too. They set that up, too, by saying, like...
really did.
Yeah, they Chekhov's gun it. They mentioned like, oh, you must have been looking through your life to find a way to survive.
Yes, exactly.
And then like the next episode or episode after that, you see him going through his life to find a way to survive.
The spirit of their mother starts to talk to Nezuko, telling her to wake up and defend
that's a weird thing that I found in
It's
Demon
been done
Slayer.
before. They did it in Naruto too. They did the same thing in Naruto where they brought his father back and all that stuff. It's been done before, so that's not that great.
But the thing about Demon Slayer that does confuse me a little bit is like when the family comes back, like is that supposed to be like a mental self-tell, or is that supposed to be like the actual spirits coming back? Because one thing that also goes kind of really unexplained early on in Demon Slayer is how Tanjiro speaks to two dead kids. I'm hoping they eventually
never did really.
No, they didn't, and that's why I'm curious about the family and how they constantly keep coming back. Like, is that mental self-catch? Because there are moments where it's like, Nezuko, your brother's gonna die, when she's passed out and she couldn't know that. Like, there are many times where the family comes back. Like, are those two seeing ghosts?
Maybe
I'm
because
hoping,
those
hoping
two
that
are.
But then when he defeats that demon, all the ghosts of everybody that demon killed
fades. Yeah. Like it's. I'm
Actually,
so
those
interested.
two
Oh,
ghosts
that's been done before too. Harry Potter.
Oh
that's been
yeah,
done.
your
I
family
like
returning,
to bring
saving
it
them.
up.
It's all so unoriginal.
Characters that you're
Demon
talking about.
Slayer
Man,
down to
what
a
an
6
original
now.
story it is, man. It really deserves such a
damn.
high rating for all of its originalness.
The boy who lived.
You keep acting like I'm you keep acting like I'm shooting on Jujutsu Kaisen, but I'm not shitting on it. I'm saying
No,
it's
we're
a 7
messing
out of
with
10.
you. We're messing with you, but I'm hoping Demon Slayer dresses like that, because like it's so weird that those are the only two that ever happens to, and yet it's such a constant plot point.
They are in the game. If you check the Demon Slayer game, those two characters you were talking about, they're there as fighting characters. You
Oda,
can pick-
this isn't a Jacob's Ladder, Oda. This isn't a Jacob's Ladder. Keep that to yourself.
And the other thing is that, like in the video game, they're brought as fighting characters because you need to pad out a roster that only focused on season 1 originally, and there were almost no variety in characters that fought there because they didn't show any of the demons in the original version of the game. So, I mean, you only have like 7 people that could fight in season 1. So, because you don't count demons in that roster at first, so. There was a reason that those two showed up as playable characters in the game, but in the actual story, no, they're dead, they're gone, they're ghosts, and it's interesting because you see Tanjiro with bruises as well from fighting with with the ghost kid. You see the cuts, you see the bruises. He takes those injuries, and yet if we want to go off the theory that that's all in his mind, he was throwing himself against the boulder to take those injuries.
It was Fight Club. He was Fight Clubbing.
Yeah, like it is interesting that it's like, I guess that never does ever actually get explained in that regard. But I don't think less of it for it. It's just
That was a
I'm hoping they do something with that.
very emotional storyline. And then the end, they didn't do the standard ending. Like they did scenes from Tanjiro Nezuko's childhood as the ending of that episode. Oh, so good, so good.
Oh yeah.
It is really good. I
My-
mean,
my
I can't think of a lot of other anime that tell a story in the way that they tell it. I mean, like at least anime, right? It's been told before in other types of mediums, and that's okay. Like that's what I was trying to impress upon Mangoose about this. It's like it's okay that other stories have told a similar story. It's how the story is being told this time, right? And is it captivating? Is it interesting, or is it boring? And in my opinion, both these animes do a really good job of telling the story that they want to tell. I enjoy Demon Slayer's story more, but that's like to me like, do I like the story of Game of Thrones more than I like the story of Wheel
Lord
of
of the
Time
Rings.
or Lord of the Rings? Well, no, I do. I think Game of Thrones is way more interesting because it's gritty and raw and harsh and brutal, and so it's like it's harder to rip your eyes away from that story versus the slower burn that the other two stories tell. But those stories are still beautiful in their own way.
You're just trying to say that because it's its own variation on a story, that shouldn't take away from it because it is in reference or is kind of the same line as
borrowing
other
ideas.
ones.
Yeah. I don't think that that's to me. I don't think it's as big of a knock that Mangoose gave it early on, and so I've been this has turned me into me trying to get him to raise his score. I'm no way or shape or form trying to
There's no
unseat
way.
Demon Slayer. I think Demon Slayer is the better anime. I just don't think it's as far gone as I think it's closer than Mangoose gives it, and that's where I'm gonna end it at here. I give Demon Slayer an 8
Are we gonna rate all the animes we do from now on?
I think we should.
That's not a bad idea.
And maybe we keep a track or something like that with our names on it or something like that, and that way people can talk shit about our choices. But I would say the Demon Slayer is like an 8.5, maybe even upwards of a 9, and I would give oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on the other. Anyway, the other one, Jujutsu Kaisen.
Wow, the one you've been defending.
I know, listen,
my God,
my brain is-
you
my
know,
brain
maybe
is-
it's a 7 in your mind. Holy.
And no, I would say that it's an 8, maybe more towards an 8.5. But I think Demon Slayer's 8.5 to a 9. Like I think the supporting characters is the real detractor for me for Demon Slayer, and then but the highs are amazing highs. The lows, it's got a lot more spikes, but the spikes are so good. So I think that's where I give it. Any changes
yeah.
for you guys?
I mean, my opinion of both of them didn't change throughout this conversation, mostly because I put them both in a high regard. Demon Slayer for me is about a 9.5, while Jujutsu is about an 8.5.
That's fair.
I have partial favoritism because I have knowledge of season 2 with Demon Slayer, and one of my favorite moments is in that one. But for season 1, I would say is a 9 for Demon Slayer because it's good. It's really good, and I enjoyed both a lot, and would recommend both to anyone that hasn't seen either, or just rewatch them because they're both good too.
100%.
Owen, any last comments here? Owen?
All right, fair enough.
I'm right here. Yeah, no, I mean, me too. I actually think that the score of Demon Slayer should be somewhere around 9, and same thing with Jujutsu Kaisen should be right around 8.5. I do believe that they are not too far apart, but definitely Demon Slayer just tops it up. I do believe as well, because I have some insight on season 2, that is one of the also reasons of my own classification. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go any higher than 9, because if you're gonna grade something at 10, it needs to be the 1.
We'll get to that one in a later episode.
That would be my rating.
All right.
Mangoose?
Yeah. I'm sticking with it. I think Demon Slayer's a 9. I think Jujutsu Kaisen is a 7 at best. I think as we've talked about, you can recap storylines and tell it in a different or better way, but I think Jujutsu Kaisen just follows an established formula far closer than Demon Slayer does. I think Demon Slayer also follows a formula, but it deviates from that formula in several different aspects. And the only reason I don't give Demon Slayer a 10 is because fucking Zenitsu can go fuck himself. But yeah, I think Jujutsu Kaisen is just too formulaic for me. I've seen this story arc so many times, not just in Bleach and Blue Exorcist, but anime that I can think a few things from, but I can't even remember what the fuck they're called. I've just seen it too many times for me to give Jujutsu Kaisen any higher than a 7.
I thought you were going to lower your score out of spite for Viking.
I should. I will tell you, the first time I watched it, I would have given it a 4 or a 5. It was me rewatching it. Really increased my my feelings for Jujutsu Kaisen. There's no way I can give Jujutsu Kaisen a 5 when it's so much better than a lot of the anime that's out there. I just don't think it's top tier in any way.
Understandable. So. And now you have all of our scores on this anime, and be ready for the survey to come out for the next episode, whenever that's going to be.
I think as far as the next episode, what were we going to do? Like tropes that we don't like, and is that what we're planning on doing?
We can definitely do like tropes that are overdone or that we don't personally like, and then tropes that are done well, and be able to cover both of those really well.
Yeah, I think that's
because there's a lot of tropes.
Oh yeah, I've been writing them down, man.
Yelling character that's there too much in the
yelling
episode.
Blonde kid. All right, well, that is going to wrap it up. Let's do plugs real quick. Owen, anything you want to plug, like a certain video game?
Undyinggames.com.
Ethereal, Viking, anything to plug?
No, I mean, everybody can find me basically on your channel at most times. You can follow me on Twitter. I do talk about stuff, on there occasionally, and throw out memes and talk about whatever comes to head. So, if you want to give me a follow, and then Discords, I am pretty active in almost all of our Discords. So, follow Mangus's Discord. I have my own. If you want to talk about anime or talk about FTM, whatever, I'm down to get tagged in stuff. So love hearing feedback from the community. That's it.
Dapper.
YouTube/Dapper Dice. You can find me there with the green dice with the dapper hat. The channel will become much more active in the coming months, hopefully.
Somebody said in chat that Overprime is going to have a beta next month and then release on Christmas. Somebody said that in chat.
I don't believe him in any capacity because the Overprime Discord didn't blow up with that knowledge.
Yeah.
So, but early access for Promised, for Predecessor and Overprime, and I'm really excited to see both. But with both of those games coming out early access, I don't care which one's which. That's when my channel's gonna blow up again on YouTube, because that's what I'm waiting for. Obviously Ethereal, but I don't know when the next playtest that I'll be able to be joining in. Can I please? Owen, please, can I? The next test? But next Ethereal, if that's something I can put on YouTube, I will 100% do that as well. But you find me mostly on YouTube right now. My Twitch is going to be a little slow.
All right, I'll link those in the chat before, later on, whenever this becomes a video. Not in the chat. I'll link it in the description in the comments. The links to all their stuff. For me, for the Minions, we do it every Sunday. It's a live stream where we talk about the Paragon projects and Ethereal. But that is going to wrap it up for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this little discussion of anime. Hit us in the comments below. Flame the shit out of me because I gave Jujutsu Kaisen a 7 if you want to. But that's going to wrap it up for this week. You guys have a good one.
Goodbye.
Oh,
Half
boy.
expecting you to say